It's 2023 and we all agree that JavaScript is weird, right? If you don't, then you soon will. Anyways, a question was bugging me all the time. Whole JS fascinates me, by the way. If you're watching this video, you may already know the question from the video title and thumbnail or just these consoles. Why on earth Math.max equals to negative infinity and why Math.min equals positive infinity? That means when you look at it superficially, the maximum value is less than the minimum value. Definitely, someone was on something while writing the code, right? Well, not quite. Once you understand this video, which you will by the end of this video, so do like and subscribe. Anyways, once you understand how this works internally, then you will just feel like, oh, this is just JavaScript way of doing things. So let's get started. As you can see, I am at the source code of V8 engine, V8 4.3.21 to be specific. I know it's old, but it serves our purpose. Now let's quickly find the math.js file to look at the implementation of Math.max and Math.min. How does this really work? Here it is. Let's quickly scroll down and find Math.max. So this is the implementation of Math.max. It's not much. Let's go through it line by line. In line number 86, you can see it takes two arguments, the first and the second. It first gets the length of the argument, and if the length is equal to 2, it gets the 2 argument. If the second argument is greater than the first, it returns the second argument. Basically what it does is, whichever one is greater, it returns that number, which is logical for Math.max. And if they are same, then it considers this case, make sure negative 0 is considered less than the positive 0. So that means if we do something like Math.max negative 0 0, it returns 0, right? So this line number 95 does exactly that. If the first argument is 0, is this minus 0? It checks this. If this is negative 0, then it returns the second argument, which is positive 0. Otherwise, it just returns the first argument. And when the length is 2, and if any of this condition is not valid, then it just returns the nan. Here comes the magical part. It initially sets the return value to negative infinity. It loops through all our argument. As you can see, the length is the length of the arguments that we passed, which is the total number of arguments. And it takes the first argument. If this is not number, it converts it into non-number to number. I believe this function will just check if the number is in a stringified format or not. I hope you get what I mean. And here's the logic. If the number is nan, or number is greater than r, initially the return value, which is represented by r, is negative infinity, and our argument is, let's say, 1. The first argument is 1. Let me just write it here. Yeah. At first, the return value is negative infinity. And it goes through all our argument, which is 1 and 2 in this case. For the first argument, it checks if this is not a number, then convert it into a number. Then it checks if the number is nan, which is not, and it checks this condition. If the number is greater than r is negative infinity, and number is 1. So 1 is obviously greater than negative infinity. So the return value becomes 1. And the loop continues. For I equals to 2, the n becomes 2. And it again goes through this logic. It checks if 2 is greater than r is 1. Yes, obviously. So r becomes 2. And the loop continues. So there is no any other arguments and it returns 2. In this way, the math.math works. Now you may have understood why math.max equals to negative infinity. Let's go through it once again. It takes 2 arguments. We haven't passed any this time. So this if condition is invalid for our case. And here comes the magical part again. The return value is negative infinity. For all the arguments, it goes through this loop, but we have not provided any argument. so this loop is not executed. So by default, it returns the negative infinity. I hope you understood what I meant. Now let's look at Math.min implementation. It also takes two arguments. It does the same thing. If the first argument is less than the second argument, it returns the first argument, and vice versa. If they are equals, it does the same logic to check negative 0 is considered less than positive 0. And if the length is 2 and none of these conditions satisfies, then it just returns nan. Look at here. Previously it was negative infinity, now it's positive infinity. And it goes through our argument list again. It just checks, oh, the argument is less than r, which is infinity. Yes, obviously the first argument is always less than positive infinity, which is 1. So the return value becomes 1. Then again the loop continues and it just checks 2 is less than 1, r is 1 in this case. No, then this if condition doesn't satisfy, then 1 is returned. If we do not provide anything, then this if condition becomes invalid again. Initial return value is positive infinity. This for condition does not execute and it just returns the positive infinity. So this is how Math.max and Math.min works, and why Math.max is less than Math.min. I know this is an old implementation, but again, it just serves our purpose. Now let's go through the latest implementation of Math.min and Math.max after we have understood this. This is Math.max and Math.min function. Look at it, in line number 149 we can see Math.min, and 136 we can see Math.max. It does the same. The initial value is negative infinity and it goes through the loop and this function is called. It does the same thing basically internally. And same for Math.min. The initial value is positive infinity. So if there are no any arguments, the loop doesn't exist and just the result is returned to the user. This is math.tk file. I will provide all the links in the descriptions, by the way. This is a talk file. Talk is a language that allows developer to basically code. It's similar to TypeScript and it makes code very much easier, allowing the developers to focus on the intent rather than implementation details, if you know what I mean. So the Torch compiler then compiles all the talk files into C++ implementations and all that. Here's the link if you want to know more about Torch. I'll just provide these links in the description. Thank you. That was all the purpose of this video, to make you know about Math.max and Math.min. It's a very famous interview question, by the way. So make sure you like, subscribe for more content like this.